if a person talks about this or says they experience this is the kind of thing, though, that will get you locked up and put on antipsychotic drugs and develop tardive kinesia and inability to walk after a few years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the technology was specifically created to mimic the symptoms of delusional disorder or paranoid schizophrenia. And that ultimately is, I think, somewhat the goal of the experimentation is to see how quick you can get someone to complain of this to their loved ones or to their employer who's not going to understand it, not have heard about it. You know, and even as a physician, you know, a decade ago, if somebody had came to me and told me, you know, I'm being followed and I'm hearing voices, I probably would have referred them to a psychiatrist too. You know, until gaining a better understanding of it and having it happen to someone that was close to me, and actually doing a little checking and calling in some favors with some people that are friends of mine that work for the government to verify what the technology is capable of. You know, looking into the history of mind control and the attempts at remotely controlling the human organism that was MKUltra in the 60s and 70s, it's pretty easy to see where the technology was heading and where their goals of getting it to were. But yeah, it's designed. You know, psychiatrists were involved in the early stages of this, so I mean, it's designed to mimic mental illness. So when you do go in and complain about it, your community psychiatrist you're sent to may absolutely know nothing about it. But even if you put information in front of them that you've gotten from your own research, they're still more interested in fitting you within the DSM-4 and getting you on medication than actually looking into the problem.
Well, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you're willing to talk about this, and I'm sure there are lots of people out there that are just relieved as all get out to know that there is a medical doctor in San Antonio who's actually saying yes and giving credence to what they've been suffering from for a long time. Now, since I don't suffer from it, and I find this kind of unbelievable, which a lot of people do, you know, I kind of hope that what you're saying might explain some things like the Aurora shooter, which looked like an absolute zombie when he came before the court system, and saying, you know, people saying things like, I didn't do it, when in reality, you know, and I run into this from many Gulf War veterans that I've worked with who have been accused of committing a crime who have no remembrance of it whatsoever. So let's, if we could, you know, and talking about this mind control that exists. We know the government did a lot of research in mind control. We knew there were Manchurian candidates. Is this something used for evil that we would be seeing on a daily basis? Or is this something just, you know, that's a rarity of people that are holed up in their apartments thinking people are stalking them that we never see?
Well, you know, first off, you know, we need to clarify that, you know, mental illness does exist, and it's sometimes difficult to determine who may be really mentally ill and who may be a victim. We're still working on ways to discriminate between the two.
Wow.
But yeah, for the most part, I think this is being used. Well, I know for a fact it's being used nationwide. And you're right. It started with learning how to create Manchurian candidates. And if you look back in the early studies with MKUltra, you know, they used torture, they used drugs, they played tapes, you know, underneath your pillow 24/7, you know, to do it. It was hands-on at that time. Well, you know, as technology advanced and we got a better understanding of electromagnetic energy and directed energy and, you know, the effects of ELF waves on the temporal lobes of the brain, well, essentially, you know, that gave them the ability to take the guinea pig out of the lab and make the home the lab, or work, or your car, or wherever you happen to be the lab. No longer did you have to take somebody to a hospital and repeatedly shock them with electroconvulsive therapy and have them on 3 or 4 different drugs to wipe the slate clean and create a new personality. You know, as it turns out, the brain's very sensitive to electromagnetic energy, specifically ELF waves, and you can do most of that remotely now. So, you know,